A lot has been made about Oklahoma's tough schedule, potentially the toughest schedule in all of college football, but I think that is the exact reason why Jackson Arnold could be one of the best quarterbacks in college football this year. If he's able to have success against the schedule that Oklahoma currently has, or not currently, but is going to have in 2024, then he has to be considered one of the best quarterbacks in college football, maybe even pushing for one of the maybe the best quarterback in the SEC by the end of this year. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not even predicting that, but I think there's a pathway for Jackson Arnold to be the best quarterback in the SEC, at least one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, right? Obviously, he's a huge recruit, big time recruit, good athlete, strong arm, can do all that stuff, all the tools, all that fun stuff, right? Go check out the 247 profile. You can read all that, right? But let's talk about the pathway to be the best quarterback in the SEC. Let's talk about the pathway to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And it starts with the schedule. There's more I want to get into. I want to talk about some spring practice stuff and some more things that we want to see and see his development, his growth. But let's look at the schedule right off the bat. And we did a video talking about, are they going to get the over, or the win total was 7.5 at the time. We did a quick video you can go back and watch. But I think the schedule could be the number one reason why Arnold could be the best quarterback in the SEC, right? So we know they start off with some winnable games. Tough games, better than people think, but winnable. Temple, Houston, Tulane, you got Tennessee right off the bat. So the big games that stand out to me, Tennessee, Auburn away is no joke by any means. Texas, the Cotton Bowl, Texas could be one of the best teams in all of college football. South Carolina at home should be a win there. Ole Miss away, very tough. Mizzou away, very tough. Bama at home, tough. LSU away, tough, right? So I kind of broke down like the toughest games that I see on the schedule are Bama, LSU, Mizzou, Ole Miss, Texas, and Tennessee. You can even throw in Auburn in there too if you want. Like that's between 6 and 7 extremely tough games and all primetime games. And so if Oklahoma is able to win 9 games, 10 games, it's going to be largely because Jackson Arnold. If Oklahoma can beat these teams that we just mentioned, this schedule that we mentioned, it's going to be largely because of Jackson Arnold. They're not going to be able to beat these teams with bad quarterback play. You're going to have really good quarterback play. So again, let's look at Bama, LSU, Mizzou, Ole Miss, Texas. If you can go 3-2 against them, that probably means that you beat Tennessee and that you beat Auburn, right? So let's go ahead and let's add Tennessee and Auburn in there. So we got 7 really tough games. If you go 5-2, that probably tells us you got 10 wins this season. If you go 4-3, that probably tells us you're a 9-3 team. I think even if you're 9-3, that tells us Jackson Arnold played pretty good football. It's going to be tough to beat Mizzou on the road. It's going to be tough to beat Auburn on the road. Tough to beat Texas at the Cotton Bowl. Tough to beat Ole Miss away with their new transfer portal team, right? So the schedule is extremely tough. But if they get to those games, they win those games, they get 9 or 10 wins, that probably tells me Jackson Arnold's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Right? So that's the schedule, right? Now, that's easier said than done, and they could go 2-5 against those 7 teams, or 3-4, and maybe Jackson Arnold has a good season but not great, and that's totally fine. And that's maybe more realistic that he has a good season. Oklahoma's good, not great, but they're taking steps, and maybe next year is their year. That's a possibility as well. But the tough schedule gives Arnold a chance to showcase his talent against the best teams in college football, against some of the best quarterbacks in college football too, from Quinn Ewers, Nico at Tennessee, if he pans out, Jalen Milroe at Alabama, Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. You're going to be going up against really, really good quarterbacks. And so you're going to be able to have the argument that, hey, I outdueled 6 out of those 7 guys. Jackson Dart, maybe the best quarterback in the SEC right now. Him, Beck, Quinn Ewers, probably top 3. Brady Cook, top 4. Those are the top quarterbacks in college football, or at least the SEC. Jackson Arnold has a chance to beat the majority of those guys. Playing Ole Miss, playing Jackson Dart. You beat Jackson Dart, Texas, Quinn Ewers, and Nico, Garrett Nussmeier, Mizzou, Brady Cook. Like, you're going to be playing the best quarterbacks in the SEC besides Beck. So if you win more than you lose against those guys, that tells us that Jackson Arnold has played pretty good. And we talked about talent being off the charts. There's no need to be redundant there. But I do think it's important right now during spring ball to really learn the offense. I do think this is one of the most important times that you don't have to kind of just stuff everything in fall camp. If you can almost treat this as fall camp, if you're Jackson Arnold, treat this as fall camp. Then when summer rolls around, treat that as fall camp. As far as from a mental standpoint, then when fall camp rolls around, you are the guy. This is your first full offseason being the starting quarterback. Last year you were learning. Last year you were backing up Dylan Gabriel. But now you are the guy. So that leadership role, if you can view spring ball as like, hey, this isn't spring ball. This is like it. These are the most important practices of my career right now, because I think that's how you have to view it. And we talked about a video, I think I put it this week, about Oklahoma and spring practice, and people are talking about this is the most important spring practice for Oklahoma because of the schedule they're going into, because of the conference they're going into, because of the SEC in general. This is the most important spring practice ever in Oklahoma's history. So if you're Jackson Arnold, it's like, yeah, I think that, I view that, and every practice is the most important practice. You got to have that mindset going in. You got to nail down the offense. The offense has to be like a second language to you, and it helps that Latrell's been there, so they probably already have a good relationship, and that they're having install. And this isn't the first time he's seen the offense in spring. I talk about this in a lot of spring videos that I do, but during the offseason, during you have a limited amount of time the coaches can be with you. So what they would do with us, what they still do with kids I train, is they'll give you a script. They'll say, hey, we're going through the route tree. You and your receivers are going through the route tree. I'll be in the press box watching, so I'm not technically with you. It's technically voluntary or optional. But if you've played college ball, nothing's optional, nothing's voluntary. They're up in the press box watching. You're going through the sheet. So if I had to guess, they're having some install. They're learning the offense already before spring camp, and they're actually throwing the ball and going through some routes and some combinations and some schemes by themselves as the coaches are watching. Now they get to put it all together on the field, and then hopefully that leads out into the summer. But yeah, I think the schedule, as weird as it sounds, the schedule gives Jackson Arnold the opportunity to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Now that just means he has to perform. How do you perform really well? How do you make sure that you're one of the best quarterbacks in college football? Well, it starts right now. It starts with this preparation. So you don't become really good the day of the game. You become really good all the practices and the hours leading up to the game. So that's kind of what I think with Jackson Arnold. That's kind of the pathway. It has to be an everyday thing to get you there. And maybe they're not there this year, but they're there next year. I think Arnold has all the talent in the world. People who are way smarter than me are really high on Arnold. And so if he's that generational quarterback, then even though you have a tough schedule, you don't really care because, hey, we got Jackson Arnold. So it's not fair. It's Arnold against you. So we feel pretty good. We'll take our guy any day of the week. That's the attitude that you have to have. Well, with that said, Oklahoma fans, or if you're just an SEC fan, excuse me, I can't talk. If you're an SEC fan watching, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think that this pathway, this schedule, gives him an opportunity to be the best quarterback in college football, or could it just be too much of a daunting task, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what other OU content or Jackson Arnold content, or just quarterback content in general you'd want to see. We're just a big quarterback hub. We talk all things quarterback. So if you like that type of content, please consider subscribing, following us along, and like the video, share, all that fun YouTube stuff. It really does help. And we'll see you next time. Peace.